So I think you're presenting a false choice. I do not think that pragmatists are compelled to choose between idealism and realism. I think there is both. I think pragmatism has to embrace both. Okay, and let me describe a little of how I embrace both. Anyways, so for me, the idealism is the abstraction, the ways in which we understand reality. It would be impossible for humans to be able to comprehend, to be able to describe, to argue and rationalize and reason about reality if we didn't have ideals. Now, the ideals that we discover, let's say, okay, because for me, mathematics is not something we created necessarily, but something we've discovered. All right, so mathematics is just applied law, if you will, with, given a certain set of rules, how does that all play out? And of course, that becomes an analog for describing things in reality. But the math itself is pure. I think math is discovered. It's not invented so much. The language to describe math is invented. Of course, language is a very interesting invention. But the mathematics itself, I think, is discovered, okay, because you set up a set of rules and then you pursue those rules and then you get certain results, okay? And that's part of the beauty of math. And math is sort of the ultimate ideal, if you will. The ideal, it's abstraction, okay? So we've got these ideals and abstractions that we use in order to understand the world. And of course, reality is never going to fit our abstractions exactly, all right? And that's where the realism has got to take place. We've got to have a certain amount of skepticism, a certain amount of margin to allow ourselves to believe that we could be wrong in our idealism, in our descriptions of reality, and be ready to accept new evidence, to make new observations, and to be motivated to go out and experience more of the real world, to see what kind of exceptions we can uncover about our ideals and about our abstractions about reality. So the pragmatist values the ideals, values the abstractions, because they allow us to understand and reason about reality. But by the same token, the pragmatist values the realism, because the realism adds the element of skepticism and of doubt and self-inquiry, the self-questioning, and leaving the margin for error, and motivates people to go out and experience and observe more, okay, and not be satisfied with what they've experienced thus far, and sort of isolate themselves and say, here are my ideals and I know they're correct and I don't want to see anything more of the world because I know I'm right. That to me is wrong, okay? So just to add one more thing. In your descriptions of an Islamic terrorist, okay, to me, the pragmatist feels empathy in that we understand how their limited exposure to reality, the fact that they've been sort of immersed in Islam, reading the Quran and just being immersed in that whole environment, how that has warped their ideals, and they've come to some very incorrect conclusions, okay? Someone who's sympathetic would agree with those conclusions. So the difference with empathy and sympathy is empathy, a pragmatist understands how someone reaches conclusions. Sympathy is someone who agrees with those conclusions. So anyways, that's all I got to say for now. Thanks. Bye.